allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And get right up close and speak into it.
Can you hear me? Testing, testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Okay.
And boy, Andrew, nice job.
So they can hear everything.
On this side here. Okay, Ed, you can hear me good?
Oh, boy.
All righty, so agenda review.
The only thing that I have is we received a letter from the SAU and Tim Broderick regarding the request to use the school for the state and presidential elections, September and November. And so they're just asking a few questions. I gave everybody a copy. And I would like to provide a response. So I can do that and then just email it to the board for approval.
Yes, yes.
And then we'll send it off. Only because they're going to meet, the school board is going to meet before you meet again. They'll meet on the 22nd and you won't meet until the 29th.
Chairman,
Yes.
just a couple of points I'd like you to.
Okay.
Right.
Mhm.
First of all, I don't see why we should buy or pay for a custodian for the whole damn school. We're going to use the auditorium and the hallway walking up to the auditorium. That is all we should be paying, in my opinion.
And they do have the dividers that block off all the hallways to limit it to that area.
Point is, paying everything. This letter, first of all, joke, where the school is trying to determine how much they're going to charge the town, because they forgot who owns the school. Voters and taxpayers own that school, not the school board, not the principal, and not the superintendent.
I think the school board was just asking questions to clarify probably.
You're kind of an island.
But the point back would be that we provide police for their school district meeting and whatnot, so,
Not provide police.
right.
We provide police, we provide an ambulance. Police, that's all.
Right.
But even bringing them up is laughable.
I was under the impression that the new janitorial services were being done at night anyways. Obviously, the auditorium needs to be cleaned regardless of whether we're using it or not. So I don't quite understand it either.
Okay, so that's question one. Question two is the liability waiver. I don't think that should be an issue. That's
Not
simple to
at
get
all.
over to them.
Not at all.
Question. Well, actually, 2 and 3 would be a police officer will be in the election area as well as one outside directing traffic is what it normally is, I believe. Plus there'll be monitors outside and inside anyways.
Correct. And it's a requirement that a
Right.
police officer be there.
And plus, again, they have the ability to section off the school so that there's no other areas anybody could get into. And Paula has also stated that no state and federal elections can be canceled, right, Paula?
Right, they're not postponed, they don't postpone for a weather event.
So that answers 4. And then Number 5, obviously, we checked out, looking with the monitor at like the fire station, redesigning voting access points to come in here. It just doesn't meet the state requirements. I think that answers everything. So,
Right, yep.
does anyone else want to add anything to that, or?
Excuse me, I understand it's a school board just trying to get their ducks in a row.
Right.
I think the end part, did we do due diligence about someplace else to go? They should all know the answer to that. I think
Right.
that's a little ridiculous.
Absolutely. There is no other facility in town.
Right,
that
and
can
they should know that.
hold that. And I will email the letter out to everyone to make sure everyone's comfortable with it before I send it.
Great, thank you. Okay, any other agenda review? Okay. So for the action items, we have the minutes of March 1st and March 8th, so I'll take a motion to approve those.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Was there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. We signed the payroll and manifest. I need a motion for the chair to sign the Dynapack roller lease. That was approved at town meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we had an intent to excavate, an intent to cut, bank letters for the audit. And also we signed the BCEP committee appointments for Michelle Rosado as budget committee rep and Alan Glassman as citizen.
Correct.
Okay. And then we just need a motion for the chair to sign the waiver of interest for the town clerk.
I'll make a motion to sign it. Sign the waiver for the town clerk.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Okay, town meeting budget results.
Yes, so as far as the operating budget, of course, the board had agreed with the budget committee numbers. So part of that is to proceed with the pay rate increases. We've also received the request from the library to pay out their apportionment that they get yearly. And I've explained to them that the board would certainly have this meeting approve the budget, and then we'll go forward with preparing the checks. All right.
Okay, do you need us to approve the budget? Is this just for the library's portion of it, or?
No, if you could just give myself and the payroll clerk the authority to move forward with making the payroll changes. You will certainly sign the manifest next week on that as well and be able to review that as it was budgeted for.
Okay, do
year
we have a
2022.
motion for the town administrator? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The new pay rates,
Mhm.
are they retroactive for January 1?
Yes, they will be.
Then I'll make a motion to authorize the administrator, and anybody else that needs to pay the library. Anybody else?
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Am I?
I don't know. Test, test.
I think it's me. What's going on here?
Scaring the hell out of me.
I know Liz is.
Move along.
So, in talking about the budget meeting, I thought the town meeting, I thought it went very well. I know there's a few things I need to do when it comes to the slides, reorganize them and whatnot, but I thought it went very well. The information was presented well. Your thoughts on it? You've been through many of them.
Only that I was glad that the town voted to increase the paving by 50,000. It was the warrant article. I think it's definitely going to be needed and necessary to complete the plan. So probably not enough, but it's will certainly help. Mhm.
I don't think we're gonna get everything on the list done this
No.
year,
No,
unfortunately.
I would agree with that.
right.
Yeah, asphalt prices are already up almost what, $10 over last year?
They are. But, and who knows what will happen with the economy.
Right.
um, Chance that it could stabilize or maybe go down. Let's hope.
Especially gas. I dread filling up my car every single time I go to the gas tank.
And speaking of that, I have just mentioned to the department heads, please think about, any travel arrangements, condense any trips that you might need to make to get parts. Just do the best that you can as far as conserving.
We had to tell our drivers to maybe go to the same gas station where one is 30 cents less than the other when it comes to diesel. It's like, really?
Well, diesel
I think most
should
of
all
them fill
be
up there
at our
anyways.
highway garage. Yes.
Does anyone else have any thoughts as to the meetings this past Saturday?
No, I'm just wondering if we did enough for an announcement, because it seemed like some people didn't really know about it, or at least that's the feedback I got. Also with the election as well. A lot of people didn't show up, and they didn't realize there's no signs out there either for the election. You notice that?
Yeah, because I think everybody was running
Like
unopposed, so they
coming
didn't,
through town.
yeah.
There were no
Get any
signs that
signs.
said anything about an election or anything like that, so I think we should look at how we're spreading the message of these.
Well, someone
If we
had
get a better
suggested
turnout.
putting like the town of Barnstead, strictly this town offices Facebook page. So Epsom has one, and which is just the town offices, and they had a thing that said the election's upcoming this date. So it's something, I know the last thing you guys need on your plate is to have to manage a page like that, but it's an option.
Well, certainly. And as soon as you go to the website, there is a banner. We've left the message about the phones on there because that's a necessity. But in the future, after our phones are all new and
If-
installed, then we can certainly use that to advertise the important things like town elections. Just as soon as anybody looks at the website, it would come right across. We follow all the rules, regulations. It's always the second Tuesday and then
And it's
followed
posted
by
as
the
well.
following Saturday. It's always posted, post offices, town office. We've had it on the website.
You had one person that said, well, I go to town hall once a year to register my vehicle. I don't go to the post office. Well,
Yeah.
Are we just advertising in the Laconia paper? Not the Bayside or anything?
No, it goes in the Bayside as far as like the budget meetings. I know
Yeah.
that's in the Baysider.
Yes.
Anybody who reads the Bayside, even if Barnstead's name isn't even mentioned, should have a pretty good idea that there's going to be a town meeting coming up. Because every other town posted all their news. They had to know the town meeting. And if they didn't, they're not paying attention.
I think we also have a lot of newcomers that have
Yeah.
moved into the area as well. And sometimes they have elections in May instead of in March, and
No. Let's not rely on other towns to get our information out, okay?
so we can,
I got an idea. Let's make sure that there are at least 2 candidates for every position next year. That will stimulate more interest than all the ads you can put in any paper.
oh, you don't mind doing that next year?
Right, right. What, you skipped this year? Did you skip this year on purpose or what?
I see where this is headed.
Yeah.
I actually had permission to use blank sign, and I said, why should I? It certainly is a heck of a lot lot easier than running around putting posters at every intersection.
Maybe something to be looked into would be a couple of those, what do you call them,
Oh,
signs?
well, where you going with this?
You know, the A-frame, and they'd be put out a couple of weeks prior, just says elections and the date and the day. I know people should know, it's put in enough places and it doesn't change every year, but if it would help, maybe a couple of those A-frames and say the date on it.
Correct, especially at intersections.
Yeah, you know, just even a couple of them.
Someone
Me.
sent me a screenshot. No, it was a screenshot. I don't know if it was from Nixle, but it was from the same, who does the town website? Who runs it?
Civic Plus.
So Civic Plus has the ability, or they were going through Nixle where they actually received right after the polls closed and everything was counted, the election results on their phone. It was texted right out to everybody in the town of Gilmanton, let's just say. And it could be the same thing for the election. I don't know how many people have signed up if we have Nixle or if we have, or if the Civics Plus website has the capability of doing that.
I'm not sure, and certainly that would be for the moderator.
Yep. And that's true. It is the moderator.
Get
that
the
it's-
results out,
yeah.
because that was another thing we just have not wanted to put results out, and everyone ran opposed, so I don't know what we were hiding, but
Want to check the laws carefully before you start texting out things, because
Correct.
there's definite rules
Yeah,
regarding
it was
that.
the towners who sent out the email.
There's still a lot of rules about that.
I
When
don't
you
know.
start contacting people personally about
Right.
election information, that
Unless
can
they've
be an
signed up
issue.
for
and
it.
then if you get
Yeah.
something wrong, I'm sure it'll
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
come
Yeah,
down.
you can
Yeah.
really get
I
down.
didn't ask to be notified about my vehicle warranty either.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Request from fire rescue.
Madam Moderator. Madam Chairman. I move that we authorize the fire chief to take the green fire truck or whatever he wants to the Manchester raid on the 27th. It's a one-time event. You don't have to approve every Old Home Day parade that comes along, but this one, is a little bit different.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
I also believe that this is a volunteer thing only.
Yes. Yeah. They're
So they
volunteering their
won't be on the
time.
clock.
They're gonna, I believe he's gonna take the forestry, because it needs to get out. It hasn't been out all winter long, is what I heard anyways.
A little shy on forest fires, snow on the ground.
True. Okay, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, informational items. Do we have any? All right, public announcements. Does anyone want to say anything publicly? Announcements?
The school meeting
Is Saturday?
is Saturday
9 a.m.
at 9 a.m. up at the school,
Yes.
the Barnstead Elementary
Yes.
School.
Yes, it is. And that should be a little bit longer than I think the town meeting, perhaps.
How are we moving forward on the committee for the noise ordinance?
Well, seeing as that was just established on Saturday,
But I mean.
I did get 3 people
Right,
that have already given me their names and numbers to be signed up, but I think it's very important that you reach every part of town. So certainly some areas, Lock Lake, maybe further out, definitely all need to be represented here.
so how many are you thinking roughly?
Well,
Well,
in the area, you've got people now from, somebody from 28, I believe, right?
mhm.
Got somebody from Lock Lake, but this end. So you'd want to try to get over here is what I think you mean, at different areas.
I do. I
Like the
just want,
parade.
I just
Yeah,
want
'cause it
every
affects
area to be
everybody.
represented. Because each one will bring something different to the table as far as noise that
Right.
others may not think about.
Well, what I'm afraid of is that if we don't go looking or asking people to participate in this, then we're gonna end up with just two people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I agree with you, though. I think we should get representation from all parts of town.
Right. And especially in the
Lake.
center as well, and a select board member to sit on that, could be added to your committee appointments that you're going to,
That was my father.
I'm going to add that right now. Okay.
Did you add the milfoil one to that?
Yeah, definitely add the milfoil to
And
that.
milfoil for a selectman rep. Okay.
Mm.
We only have so many days in a week.
I know.
So do we have any ideas on how to reach out to?
I mean, I could put it on the
social
website.
media?
Certainly, Gary or Diane, you're on social
have-
media, I guess I should say, social media,
I have a
maybe.
couple of people in a couple of different areas that have talked about the
Showed
whole
interest.
issue. And I can even reach out to them and ask them if
Please.
they'd like to get in, or they would seem pretty concerned with the whole thing.
Please do. I mean, the important thing to keep in mind is it has to go before town meeting as a warrant article. So it may appear that we have a whole year, but we don't want to put it off too long.
We also-
Realistically, this December, January timeframe would be the,
Want to try to get a balance of people too on how they're on their feelings on this.
right, because you want all stakeholders. So there are ones that don't feel should be necessary.
Right.
So their voice needs to be heard. And then
But I
there's
think
ones
we-
that are directly affected by. it.
First couple we've got is exactly that, one from each side. So that's a good start.
All right.
I mean, someone like Scott Misha would be good
Mhm.
because he had a lot of thoughts on it. I think. I know Linda Spinoza was interested in it.
No, that's not.
I know.
Oh,
so
good.
I can't.
Yep.
Yes.
I think that this is what do we call an ordinance that is going to give us problems before it gets finally worked out.
Oh, yeah.
First time one of my neighbors decides to cut wood on a Sunday morning, starting at 7 o'clock with his chainsaw. Phone's going to start ringing. Or when somebody that drives an 18-wheeler for a living goes out and starts it up to warm it up at 6 o'clock in the morning. There's going to be issues. And I think we need to be prepared for that. To talk about, they need to be represented, then you need to invite some of them to participate.
Yes.
And Lord help us. The first time somebody decides to throw 3 pigeons out behind the house and shoot a couple hundred rounds out of a shotgun, phone's gonna ring again.
Well, I mean, we have an existing one now already that's does not have a time frame on it. So it's basically someone could call at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and say they're shooting clay pigeons, 500 rounds, get the police out there or whatever, you know what I mean? So,
And a huge deterrent to this would be neighbors letting their neighbors know,
Right.
I might be having a party, it's only going to be till 10 o'clock. Just letting people know that this is going to take place.
and they were doing that actually with the fireworks, which, towards the end of the summer, they were I'm going to be shooting off some fireworks and
It's a respect issue.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Mhm.
just are ignoring it completely.
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's the ones that put the fireworks at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's like, well, let's be a
They're
little
right,
reasonable about
nobody
this.
else is Right. And if you just work together and think of your neighbor, you'd be all set.
Yeah.
But it's not working that way.
I don't think the biggest problems reside with the residents anyways. I think it's the people that own camps up here,
Mhm.
or own property up here, or are in an Airbnb or rent, short-term rental.
Right.
Because they don't care about their neighbors. You know, they can
We
care less.
know what this is directed towards, but many people don't even know there's such a thing as an Airbnb here in Barnstead.
Yeah, well, there's 400 million of them.
Unfortunately, a lot of people think that's the only area this is, and it's not.
Right.
Because I just spent a couple hours with a gentleman on Friday. Doesn't live anywhere near Lockwood. He had a serious issue, so.
Oh, yeah, the misnomer was it was coming from Lock Lake, and it's like, that's not where this came from whatsoever. It didn't come from, we haven't even received at the board level any complaints from Lock Lake. So that was, clarify that, but I think if a lot of ways is get all the voices together and come to a compromise, and I'm sure that they can probably do it. Some even brought out, well, Alton, I think, is 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. So I think some of the questions was 10 o'clock on a Sunday was pretty, a lot of people get up at 8 and start mowing their lawns. That was,
I'm doing nothing. I didn't even move.
it wasn't me.
My mouse in
Again,
my
I think,
pocket.
yeah, if we can just sit down and everybody try to come to
The only
a
reason why,
mutual agreement, because
Right.
some people think that we're out to take their rights away and they think somebody else. So it just,
And you have the others that can't enjoy the property.
exactly, they can't even enjoy their home.
the only reason why I brought it up is I would like to get the committee formed as quickly as
Yeah.
possible, not wait till
Mhm.
December or whatever. It's that,
And actually, now is the good time because you're going to be going into the summer months where there could
Yep.
be complaints coming, and there'll be real time, that you'll have to deal with. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Committee appointments. Committees as far as
All the committees that
how
you
many we
sit
got?
on.
400?
Take one, yeah, there's a lot.
So when we're going to be adding obviously 2 new committee appointments, which is going to be the milfoil and the noise ordinance.
Yes, I wrote them on the bottom, so we wouldn't forget them.
You got an open day
I mean,
when it's not budget.
I mean, when I read the noise ordinance and it said like a loud voice, and I was like, oh, well, I'm busted right there. Okay.
How can it be me?
Oh, is it hitting the table like when the microphone, maybe put it up higher?
Not like I need one anyways.
No,
Oh, Ed's.
I can hear just fine.
Okay, where do you guys want to start? Ed,
I would respectfully request that I be appointed as the selectmen's representative to BCEP.
okay, everybody fine with that?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
All right,
Aye. Okay, unanimous. I will respectfully ask if I could be the budget committee selectmen's rep. If everybody's okay with that.
second.
All those in favor? Aye.
I would actually like to stay on the planning board
Okay.
unless somebody else. Paula?
No, that's fine. If you would like to, I'm fine with that.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to keep parks if possible.
Okay. Gary, we have a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Zoning board? I think my dog heard that.
Some kind of infection going on. Things got COVID.
I'm happy to continue with the zoning board if
Okay.
nobody else wants to handle that.
Second.
All
Aye.
those in favor?
Say again.
I plan, zoning board for Paula. Safety administrator, I was going to those meetings. I can do that again if no one has an objection. That is the one that with,
4 meetings a year.
yes,
Mhm.
okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Diane is safety administration.
Stick with space needs if that's all right.
Do we have a second?
Yep, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You okay? Paula?
Yes,
Okay.
aye, sorry.
Ed, you okay with that? Gary's gonna go back onto the space needs committee for the school, for the elementary school. Let's see,
I guess I'll keep the traffic study over there while I'm at it.
keep it consistent.
What the hell's that?
Above space needs
Oh, yeah,
committee.
yeah.
Do we have a second? All those in
Yep.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Should be ready to go about Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Highway safety committee. Well, who's on that one?
I did not print out last year's and I meant to.
Okay.
So
I don't think anybody was on.
Did they ever meet?
I think probably you should be as safety committee. I think they meet all together.
Okay. I think that wasn't the one that I was like, I was.
That might have been
Maybe
it.
that was taken care of all at once. Okay, so that'll be
What was that?
Diane. Do we have a second?
Second.
Cooking.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Dave Kerr would like to remain as the TAC committee for Lakes Region Planning.
Okay, so make a motion. Dave Kerr stays for the TAC committee, Lakes Region. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alternate for the BCEP.
I can do that.
Okay. Do we have a second?
You're alternate before.
Second.
Oh, yeah, no, no.
Okay.
Well, why does an alternate have to be there if you're there?
Question I can't answer, but that's the way it is.
One of
Do
those.
you still want to do that, Rick?
If he doesn't want me to, that's fine. I'll
No,
let
I think
somebody
you
else
just
do
had to
it.
be there, right?
Love you too.
Okay, so you're okay with being at the meetings, Rick?
Actually, no. It's always a conflict. It's always Thursday, which is a conflict
Planning.
with the
Planning board, okay.
Hence the reason I probably wasn't there.
I'll say right now that anybody who accuses us of not being busy, of not earning our pay, pay attention, because we are busy all the time. Every one of us.
Now, Paul, you want to say the alternate for the planning board?
Sure.
So Ed, I will be the alternate, yes,
Okay.
and learn all about trash.
Waste management.
Waste management, excuse me. Okay, Conservation Committee alternate. Who was that last year?
I thought
You're
Ed's
Ed,
on.
right?
I sit on.
he's on the,
As a, what do you call it,
Are
an
you-
alternate already.
Okay, it is for the alternate.
My
Right.
appointment as alternate is from the conservation,
Oh, okay,
so
could be
I'm gonna
someone.
be there anyway.
okay, we'll make it you.
All
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we need an alternate on the budget committee. Yeah, if you want to do that again. All right, Gary. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Yeah, I got Sunday left, so I think you get on that noise.
Are we still having the grant research and policy, or is that kind of like a as needed?
As needed.
Okay. So who's ever,
Who's the alternate on the zoning board?
they don't have a zoning board
No.
alternate.
No.
All right, perfect.
Business, do we even have the business development group? Is that even? still
No, it
meeting?
hasn't met
All
in,
right, so that's out
Forever.
as needed. We'll discuss it if ever happens.
Business development, is that a CIP?
no.
No.
Noise
Tried to
ordinance.
slide that in there.
So the question for the noise ordinance is, I mean, it probably makes more sense to have two board members on there, depending on this, because it looks like the size of the group could be.
I'll do milfoil if you want.
That would be great. I think that's a great idea. I second that.
I'll do noise.
Okay, so Rick will do milfoil.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So noise ordinance. Okay, and are we going to do one or two
Probably should do two.
board members for the noise ordinance?
I don't see a lot here for Paula.
I'd be happy to do the noise ordinance.
All right.
Rick.
Don't want to leave you out.
Okay, so for the noise ordinance, a motion for Gary and Paula to be the select board representatives.
Mhm.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay, so what's left is the chair and the vice chair.
Chairman,
Yes.
I have said before, and everybody will say, oh yeah, you said that last time. But I'll say it again. I believe that anytime you serve on a board or committee or a commission in town, whether you're appointed or elected, you have an obligation to assume the chairmanship at some point in your tenure. I have a couple of concerns. And this is not, I'm not trying to be malicious, but I don't like the idea of one person having contiguous terms as you are done. I think there needs to be somebody different. Ideally, it should be either Rick or Gary. Unfortunately, I have to say this. I don't get good vibes from you two guys, because I always feel that there's a grudge or something going on against the police department. And I don't know what it is. I wish I did. But you can't have that and be chairman at the same time.
So you're saying you don't think we can be open-minded and fair?
Do I think you can be? Of course I think you could be. But that's not what comes out of your mouth sometimes.
No.
What
I
about
guess
the,
that's one of
well,
those things that works both ways.
And expound on that here.
I think the amount of things we have voted on that are pluses for the police department and that we've been asked to vote on and things we've been asked to approve should outweigh anything else, because I don't have the list with me, but there is a whole list of what we have voted for and approved when we could have said just no, like in the old days. So I think we've been a lot more supportive than we have with our criticisms, but I think our criticisms have been just. So that's how I feel.
Well, I won't refute anything you've said to that point, except that sometimes during a meeting, I hear you say things about the chief, about a particular officer, about the police department. And granted, I can't hear half of what goes on here. But what I'm wondering is, what do the people on this thing here? So, just remember, every one of us, when we speak or when we act, are under a microscope. And how we act and react and how we are judged.
With that being said, I'll nominate Rick for chair. And can we do vice chair at the same time?
They have to be separate motions.
Do
Okay.
one.
Do we have a second? Okay, do we have another nomination?
I knew that was coming. Saw that a mile away. Been like this from the start.
By the way, I don't aspire to be chairman. I have been several times in the past. Now I've been reelected. I expect I will be again at some point. So please, don't consider me this year.
Does someone want to make a nomination?
I will nominate Paul Penny for chairman.
Do we have a second? Okay. So nominations are still open.
Mhm.
I will nominate Gary Madden as vice chairman.
Do we have a second? This is very uncomfortable. Okay, well, nominations are open for the chair, so we should really focus on that first, and then who's ever chair at that point will then take the nominations for the vice chair. That's how it should be working.
True. I just want to add that always in the past, and I certainly don't have a vote. I'm actually glad I don't have a vote right now, but I mean, in the past, the vice chair has moved up to chair and had an opportunity, at least in their 3-year term, you know, to run a meeting or do as Ed had pointed out. You know, people should just have a chance. Just a comment.
So nominations for chair is still open.
I have a question. Diane, do you want to be chair?
I will be whatever anybody wants me to be.
Can you tell us why you want to be chair?
Well, right now at this point, because until we get a treasurer, my name is on the one that has to sign the check. So I think at this point, instead of sending out all new bank letters until the treasurer comes on, if you want to just extend it until we have the new treasurer and then take another vote, that's absolutely fine. I just think in streamlining up until that point.
We'll have to do new bank letters when you appoint someone anyway, unfortunately.
So if we want to just continue as we are right now, we don't have to do chair and vice chair tonight, correct? We can revisit it in 2 or
Sure.
3 weeks. Would that make sense for everybody?
I think we should do it.
Okay. If you want me to be chair, that's fine. I would think in terms of continuation.
I will nominate you as interim chair until such time as we can bring this to the table again and discuss it further.
Okay, do we have a second on that motion?
It doesn't seem like we're getting it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if
No,
we-
and if you don't vote, then it stays.
It stays the
as
way it is.
until such time as you do vote.
Okay, so again, nominations for chair. If not, we'll close it and revisit it at the next meeting in 2 weeks. Is that acceptable to everybody?
I have a question of Rick. Rick, you want to be chair?
I would like to be chair. I think I've earned that spot. I think I put in all my time. I think I've learned a lot. I think that I deserve it. And I think that this is the kind of crap that I joined this board for, was exactly this. When I get outnumbered, you guys continue to run the way you want to run. You don't even know half of what goes on in a meeting.
Well, wait, back up the track, Rick. What do you mean the way that it runs, the way it's going to run?
No, it's all about, having the vote on the board, having control over the board. It's been like that from the start.
I beg to differ because when I came on the board, Lori was on there with you
the
and
first thing we
Gary.
did was got rid of her.
No, she was,
Okay, whatever. Point
it
is-
happens though. Sometimes people agree. There's been times where we've had votes that are 5-0. There's been times when we've had votes when it's 3-2 or 4-1. That's the way you want a board to work.
I don't think anybody on this board thinks that anyone else does not do a good job at what they do or being a select person. But I do think this just turned into, because we disagree on one subject and we don't agree with the people that do agree with things on that subject, this is how we're getting tainted. And that's not fair, because I have voted for others to be in these positions, no matter how they voted, and usually it was against me. So that's, I think, where the issue is. And I think part of, I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but how things don't change.
I think that every department should be treated the same, is what I think. And I don't think it has been that way. I think there's been special privileges and things done that have been just looked over in some areas and then prosecuted in others. So, no, I don't think it has been fair, and I would like it to see fair.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm not going to go into details, but
Well, I mean, if you make a comment like that, then you should be able to publicly state what your comment is about.
I just think some department heads are not treated the same as others. That's what I mean. I see George prosecuted on a daily basis
By who?
by the board, by everybody.
When has this board ever said anything to criticize George?
Then we go after him for, he's treated differently, okay? And
I'll disagree with that. I
do
don't
not
think he is.
disagree with that. This board, since the day I came on, seems to have been run in a certain way, a way that I think it should be run in some cases. And Ed screams up and down every year, the vice chair should get the chair position, except for now. Is the only time he doesn't jump up and down and say that. Now, why is that? And you think it's just because of my feelings towards somebody?
Who?
He already told you who.
The question is, my concern that I have is, we've heard from you directly stating that you've told town employees that the road crew what to do, even though you don't have the intention, but the boundary was still crossed, if that makes sense. That's something that you have to dial back from. I mean, and then you've acknowledged that as well. But that is a big issue, because if something was to ever happen where that employee could turn around and say, you're bypassing the town administrator and the department head, if that makes sense. And that's not something that should happen. So I think,
I think you've been a chair for a year and a half, which I don't believe is fair to the rest of the members of the board. I know you took over, then you got to and then we put you in it.
Mhm.
It wasn't an alternative to that, but actually was a good idea at the time.
okay. So again, nominations are still open. Yes,
What I would like to avoid at all costs is a fiasco such as the one that we endured for a few short weeks while Lori Mara was chairman. Now, I put up with that as long as I could before I recommended that she be removed as chairman. I have no problems doing that again. I don't care who's in the chairman's position. But I just like to avoid it altogether. It's not necessary. Every one of us represents town employees, and we work for the voters. And there's no need of it ending up the way it did when she was chairman. No need at all. Talk about a vendetta.
This is about opinions. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because everybody up here is capable of doing this job. This is about opinions that this board disagrees on, some agree on, and some disagree on. So the ones that don't agree with the majority are getting it held against them, and it's wrong. Certainly doesn't look like we're gonna get anywhere with this, so. Unfortunately.
I'm going to make a motion, Rick Tarian be chair.
Well, second.
And with that motion, I would like to ask to be vice chair.
I'll second that.
So we need to do Rick's motion first. To make him chair, for Rick Tarian to be chair. So Gary seconded. All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Then we need a motion for vice chair.
Already nominated Gary Madden as vice chair.
He didn't get a second.
So I'll nominate you as vice chair.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Gary? Okay, unanimous. All right, run the meeting, Rick. You're going to do public input.
We'll open public input at 6:06. Anybody on?
Hi. Are you there?
Yes, Liz.
You hate hearing from me, don't you, Rick? You just cringe every time you hear my voice.
I do.
I know. I think this last vote was a hard one. We went through a very hard year in this last year since our last chairman, and we all have to agree on that. And I'm hoping this year will be a much better year as far as the board getting along. It was obvious last year, there was definite opinions and prejudice against some of the department heads, and I'm hoping we can put that all behind us and change the attitudes and the remarks about the department chairs. We got to hope for the best here. Yeah, Rick. You too.
You know, it's always the first. Does he point?
Just some of the remarks are uncalled for, that's all. And last, I would definitely volunteer for the noise ordinance committee for this end of town.
Thank you.
No. Thank you, Les.
You're welcome.
Anybody else on? Please state your name for the record.
Maggie Cipriano.
Thank you.
Um,
When's that?
First of all, I wanted to let you know that, especially you, Rick, since you're going to be the Board of Selectmen representative for the Milfoil Committee,
Yes.
Lock Lake received a message that the Milfoil Committee is meeting this Saturday at 9 at the library, which is the same time
How's that gonna be?
as the school meeting. That came from Ann Mallon, the Secretary of Suncook Lakes. And it came directly from Ed Neester. He does not live in the town, so I don't think he knew about,
Oh, the school.
school board, and the school meeting. School meeting is at 9 o'clock, correct?
Correct.
This meeting runs from 9 to 11:30 on March 19th at the Oscar Foss Memorial Library.
Mhm.
So that's something to be aware of, and maybe you need to contact Ed to possibly get that changed, because I do know at least the person from Lock Lake was planning on going to the school meeting. So,
Is it possible for you to contact the individual who chose that time and date?
Actually,
Recommend to her or suggest to her that it's the same time as school meeting?
well, I received this as an FYI.
Mhm.
I'm not on the committee. We have a lake health person on that committee. But I just thought it should come from the representative of the board because,
I agree.
Right.
okay,
I'll get Ed's number, contact information and get a hold of him and see if I can talk to him about the meeting.
right, because I think the milfoil meeting is important.
He was supposed to get back to me anyways with a list of meeting dates, because
Mhm.
some of those are pretty fixed. In other words, something has to get accomplished by that time. So they're deadline meetings.
Correct. And
he
I
was
do
supposed to put
believe
that
it-
together.
I think they have them set for the third Saturday. I
I
think it's the third Saturday of every month
Yeah.
at 9 AM at the library. I think that was their fixed meeting. It may have been the second Saturday, but I know he wanted to meet this past Saturday. And the representative from Lock Lake said to him, I'm going to the town meeting and I think
Hmm.
you're going to be at the town meeting at that time, which then Ed said was true. He forgot about the town meeting.
Right.
So he might want to be reminded about the school
He
meeting.
may have already changed the meeting. You just didn't get the
Well,
memo on it
we just
When'd you
got
get
this
that?
from him just yesterday.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just, that's one thing. I also wanted to thank Karen for giving guidance to Steve Jonash about bringing forward the extra money for the milfoil
Yes.
diver for Lock Lake, and I'm very happy that it passed. Even Ed Neester after the meeting came up to me and said he was shocked that the people passed it. So I was pleasantly surprised that it did pass. The second thing is the noise ordinance committee. You said you had somebody from Lock Lake? You know if it was a board member or?
Scott Misha.
Yeah,
Right.
No,
So
he's not
he is
Lock Lake.
not Lock Lake.
Oh,
No, but I was going to recommend him. I spoke to him after town meeting and I think he had a lot of different
Mhm.
ideas and I said, your voice needs to be heard, so he
Yeah,
should be on it.
the other gentleman will make something on Pineo, right?
From Pineo Road.
Yeah, so I would like to be a part of it. And I'm not for or against, the noise ordinance as they proposed or as you proposed it. I just want to hear everybody's side because there are members in Lock Lake that are upset with fireworks going off at 1 o'clock in the morning when you have to work the next morning. There are a lot of people in Lock Lake that during holidays, especially 4th of July, fireworks go off. They start at 9 PM. They're usually over by 11 PM, but that might be outside the noise ordinance time. So I just think that as a board member of Lock Lake, I can represent a lot of people. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else on? No. Okay, we'll close public input at 6:12, whatever it is.
Yes.
Do you have any non-public, Karen?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to go into non-public for RSA 91-A:3,
C.
C.
Mhm.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Good.
Mm-mm.
Any discussion?
Individual. You got to do the roll call.
Ed?
Aye.
Gary?
Hi.
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Don't forget to say your name.
And Rick.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. No, we're just going into non-public. So,